Thank you all for joining us. We're going to dive right in because we have 5 different topic areas and we've got 5 panelists, and I want to give them plenty of time to answer these questions. Our 5 topic areas, just so you know, include work-life integration, mentorship, leadership pathway, salary negotiation, and overcoming adversity resilience. So we are going to kick it off. We're going to start with Katie with work-life integration. So I'll be honest, I'm not picky about the advice I get. So I'm going to ask a specific question, but feel free to answer with any kind of amazing advice that you have for me and for our groups, even if it doesn't directly answer the question, anything around this topic. So for work-life integration, how have you found a work-life balance that works for you? And what strategies did you use to get there?
All right, thanks for the questions. Are you all able to hear me okay? Perfect. So I've been in the workplace since probably my teenage years, and I assume many of you have similar pathways. And what I found is that over the course of my career, as I moved from transactional type of work into what I would call mindful work, is you have to really find that opportunity to lean in and lean out of how we manage our time when it comes to work. I think many of you probably remember those days where you clock in, you clock out, and as soon as you're done, you can kind of walk away from everything that work was in your workplace. And then as you develop that career journey for yourself, you find that the thoughtfulness around what you do carries forward into every waking hour of your life. And so how do you find what I now really refer to as no longer work-life balance, because that really assumes that you have to be one or the other, and they're on this kind of teeter-totter of an approach, but really about work-life harmonization. And how do you thread all of those aspects between your personal and your professional life in a way that you can continue to fill up your cup with the things that you really enjoy. So for those of you that have families, I'm a mother of 3 now adult sons. And 10 years ago when they were in their middle school and high school lives, my work-life harmonization was very different than it is now when they're adults and post-college. So it really is about how to manage those and understand that you're going to have seasons, and really want to make sure that you respect yourself as an individual, because we can all find those days and those hours where we're pouring too much into one cup and not enough into another. And we start to feel those things like burnout or a loss of satisfaction, whether that's in your personal or your professional aspect. So for me, it really is about just being true to myself and where do I find the most happiness. There are times when I found extreme happiness in pouring a lot of extra hours and time into work, and others where I needed to balance that out with making sure that I'm taking time for myself personally. So it really isn't just a one size fits all. It's really about how each of you as an individual can find that harmonization that works the best. I do really believe that who we are as individuals is a multitude of different aspects, both your professions, your hobbies, your personal aspirations, your family, your any other aspect of your life really needs to blend together. And you can carry that forward no matter where you go. So I will oftentimes tell students when I meet with them the opportunities that you have from a career perspective and those experiences that you develop over the course of your life, nobody gets to take those away from you. So you get to take those into your next, aspect, whether it's your next career, your next job, your next hobby. And it really is about finding the opportunity to continuously grow yourself as an individual. And when you do that, you find the best path for yourself, and nobody can prescribe that for you. So that's really what's worked well for me over the course of my career, and just recognizing that you have to sometimes pause and think about it a little bit as to how you want to manage your own pathway.
I love that. I have never heard work-life harmonization before. That really resonates with me. Do any of our other panelists have any thoughts on strategies or how you navigate that part of harmonization?
Like that, right? So I love the strategy, love the work-life harmonization. A little more tactical, manage your calendar, right? I mean, really put the thing, you're going to be out of the office, put it on your calendar. Don't let people overtake your life by just blocking over top of everything that you have planned. If you have a hair appointment, I always tell people, I have a hair appointment every 6 weeks. Don't bother me during my hair appointment. Just leave me alone for an hour and a half to do my thing. And I've maybe missed one in the past 4 years. So, just really think about what it is. How do you harmonize, right? How do you, get the things done at work that you need to get done, but also, have a personal life as much as you can and do the things you need to do with your kids or, husband or whomever. Also, I would say building a team that you can trust. So I worked really hard at Transportation Cabinet to build a team of people who, if there's an emergency issue that arises, as we know with technology, it happens all the time, that you have a team of people that you can rely upon and you don't have to stop everything you're doing to kind of address that. Building that team really has helped me be able to have a better work-life balance.
I'll add one other tactical, very practical strategy for me is rest. It's like sometimes we overlook not just sleep, but rest. What does rest look like? So I've had to lean in to what rest looks like for me in the evening. And doing that in the morning, even though I'm talking to somebody, I'm not a morning person, but I have to lean into rest. That's what gives me mindfulness in order to function. And so I've had to definitely prioritize what rest looks like for me. Tracy, you have any thoughts?
Well, for me, I think it's important to take my vacations. I definitely make that a priority, and I try to do, if possible, a 2-week vacation because I really feel like it takes me a while to unplug and get away from thinking about work, and that's important because when I come back to work refreshed, and also gives me time to do hobbies and things that I really enjoy, which I bring back into my work in a positive way. So I definitely take my vacation.
I would say with work life, one of the things, and especially post-COVID, the ability to have like technology on me at all times has been very helpful because then I can I now have one child going off, the last one's moving out, but there's just been a constant struggle between, what's going on at work and, what's going on with my husband, what's going on with the kids, and balancing all that has always been a bit of a challenge, but technology being on me all times allows me to be able to manage all of the things. I feel like I'm able to be in a lot more places at once. And then, because oftentimes too, it can be something small, but if I wasn't available while I'm also doing this, I can kind of handle that and move on. And it can seem overwhelming, but it actually works better for me. And then on the flip side, for my downtime, I garden and I have my things that kind of take me, especially like working in a field, and I feel like I'm so left-brained all the time, to really go and do something like gardening or something creative is such a great outlet for me to balance the two pieces of me.
They're full. I'm gonna have to go watch this again because there are lots of good movies there. All right, moving on to one of my other favorite topics, which is mentorship. And Rosalind, I'm gonna let you go first on this one. And again, I'm gonna ask questions, but if you've got thoughts that are outside of these questions, feel free to shoot me. So what advice would you give to younger women just entering the workforce today? And then kind of on the other side of that, what qualities do you seek in a mentor and how do those help you grow? So feel free to answer it any way you like.
So good question. I think I'll start and I jotted some things down because doing this and being on this panel has caused me to do a lot of reflection, which is very good for me, and a lot of journaling, which I don't often do. And so I thought about this mentorship question to inherently who I am because of some of the negative experiences that I had starting out. I can remember asking a person directly to be my mentor and basically being told no. Not in that word, but basically after they got through explaining, really the answer was no. And at that time, I internalized that rejection as rejection. And it took me a while to process that and not internalize that as rejection. Instead, to use that to say, what is it that I was looking for? And then how can I be that to someone else? And so that has informed my mentorship journey over on my career. Some of the things and the qualities that I look for, that I try to be to other people, and that I look for. One is authenticity. To be real, to be genuine. Oftentimes, if people are coming to you, to be my younger self, I was thinking at the time, my younger self, I was looking for somebody, especially in technology, where I did not see people who looked like me, both as a woman and as a Black woman. I did not see people who looked like me before. I was looking for somebody to be genuine with me. They necessarily have to look like me, but just be genuine with me as far as your experience if you've been in my profession or in this profession for a while. And so somebody who was authentic, because that helps to build trust. So I use that. Again, that was a very negative experience for me, but I use that. I still have to use that today in order to engage younger people, in order to hopefully be the mentor that I wanted to be and wanted to have at that time, but that also that I want to be. Transparency kind of goes along with that, because it allows, I thought about the word transparent, it allows the light to shine through. And so when I'm transparent with other people, hopefully that light will blaze a path, their own path for them. And so somebody who's transparent, kindness goes a long way. And oftentimes we don't like to use those technical words in the professional context, but kindness matters. Kindness definitely matters. And so one of the qualities that I look for in a mentor and that I try to be to younger people is to be kind, just be compassionate, to see them, to pay attention, to be present when they're asking questions, or when I see and identify something in them that they may be searching for, that they may not be able to articulate, just seeing them and being kind to them. Somebody with experience, obviously, somebody younger who's been in the workplace. If you've got experience, being real about what that experience is and what that experience is not. For a long time, I shied away from the example that I just told you about, telling people no, they told me no. But it's okay. It's real and it happened. And so I'm okay now with saying that, obviously. And that's wrong that a person told me no. I could use that to be better, or I can use that to make me better. So sharing that experience. Also somebody who's a good coach, right? So you can think about what a coach does. I grew up in a sports family. So the coaches are not just sitting on the side, just yelling and screaming for the person, yelling and screaming, although it seems like that sometimes. But they really are trying to make you better and the team better. And so how can I do that in the life of a younger person or even an older person that comes from me? Also, I learned from just as much in my bio, very intentional about learning from people, no matter what age. It's the reason why I also have this paper and pen. So it's like, I'm going to get some good information from you. And so I know that being a learner also can make you a good mentor as well. Also, somebody who's going to champion for you. Look for somebody who's going to be a champion. Look for somebody who's going to be, when I was telling a young person, but somebody who's you can get to as a younger person, right? But also somebody who can honestly, genuinely speak up for you because you do good work, because you have a good work ethic, who's going to say your name when you are not. And not just for their benefit, but just strictly for you. So look for somebody. And oftentimes you can tell people you connect with. And you're not going to always connect with everybody. And this is something I would tell younger people. You're not going to connect with everybody. And it's okay. But those who you do find that connection with, hold on to them. And oftentimes, if they told you no, they're not going to be your mentor. I'll tell you also about a positive experience that I had years ago when I was starting out in my senior year before coming here to UK. And I realized years later that this person was a mentor and I never asked her. And I don't think she was actually trying to be, but what she was kind. She was patient. She took my question on. I was coming out of college. The company I worked for had not hired college students in 15 to 20 years. So I worked with people who were twice my age. And what she did for me was allow me to ask questions. And I look back on that time like it's over because she allowed me to just ask, probably to her, very stupid questions, but she allowed me to do that. So she became a mentor to me. It wasn't until that time passed that I said, oh, she was one of the best mentors for me. And that's who I try to be to younger people.
I think that's a really good point about the unofficial mentors, the ones that we haven't actually asked officially. Do you have any other thoughts on mentorship?
I have to add, because there's another aspect of mentorship, and Rosalind hit on a few of those, like the formal and the informal opportunities. But as individuals come into the workforce and you look for those role models or those individuals that you want to participate in your career path, is to often think about your personal board of directors. Like, who are those individuals that you want to place, just like a company, who do you want to place around the table to help you out with certain aspects? You might want to run some, conflict components around one person and maybe some business aspects around another person. So one person doesn't have to do all things for you. So think about that personal board of directors and ask people, would you be on my personal board of directors? You can be my friend, you can be my coach, you can be my mentor, and understanding that there's different aspects to each of those. We oftentimes, for those of us who go to our parents for that advice, or we go to our church members for advice, or we go to community members for advice. That is essentially your personal board of directors, but just thinking of it in regards to not only your personal aspects, but your career aspirations as well.
And kind of add to the informal, I think, for me, I found mentorship in people who don't even know me. And by that, I mean, find people in the industry that you really admire, and why do you admire them? And just kind of understanding that, reading their articles, reading their books, that kind of thing is going to help you inform, what do I like? What do I don't like? How do I want my career to progress? So I think that's important too. Like, you can find mentors in different ways than even somebody you would talk to. It could be somebody out there that you think is doing things really well. You want to, emulate that,
That's a good one.
I would say I've never actually asked anyone to be my mentor in a formal way, but I've certainly had a lot of different ones in an informal way. So I think that's okay too. You don't have to be very formal about it. Watch other people. You see people you respect and how they interact in the workplace and who they speak with and how they speak with people, how they build relationships. And there's just so much to gain from that. And I would also encourage, be a mentor. You learn a lot from being a mentor, even if you're young and starting out early in your career. Getting with other people who are in a similar place or are brand new to the organization and talking with them about what they want in their career and how are they doing things to advance. And you just learn a lot just by talking with others about the workplace or even your personal life and things like that. So I would encourage, definitely get those informal, formal mentors, but also be a mentor as well, because there's so much to gain from both.
I'm going to echo exactly what you were saying, Heather, because actually, just in thinking or listening to you and reflecting back on my own career, I actually can say I've had a lot of mentors that really helped my career project, move forward, and not realizing it at the time. But I feel like, how did I get those mentors was mostly because just building relationships with people has been key. And then too, recognizing those who have skills that you admire, and then that would make me gravitate towards that person because I could learn more for my career, and now kind of years and decades into my career, I feel like I get to share that experience back with younger individuals and just explain things, hurdles I've been through and what ways worked and what didn't and such. So
I agree. I always feel like I learn more from being a mentor than the person I'm actually mentoring. Wonderful. These are all fantastic. All right, next we're going to talk about leadership pathways. So Heather, I'm going to start with you, and then others feel free to share your experience as well. So can you share your journey to leadership within the tech industry and any obstacles that you faced along the way?
Yes, so let me tell you a little bit about how I got into technology at all. I was one of those students that went to college with no idea what I wanted to do. I majored in business and then gravitated towards economics, and it's fine. So my senior year of college, I went to a college where they had a spring term, and we had one class during a spring term. And I took a management information systems course, which just taught a broad range of things related to technology, as you know. And I actually took that course, not because I had some eager interest in learning technology, but because it was from 10 to 12 each day. And I really liked that time slot. So that's just being transparent. I loved that class. Not just because of the time slot. I loved the professor. I loved the content. I kind of just understood it, made sense to me. And so I left that class going, what am I supposed to do now with that? So I knew I was going to go on to get my master's in business administration. But then when I arrived, they had to choose a concentration. And initially I thought I was going to do finance, which I really hated. But information systems was an option. That's it. That's what I need to do because I love that class so much. And that's really how it all started. My desire to have a 10 to 12 class. So I got home after I graduated from master's program. I didn't have a job and I'm at home with my parents. And I'm like, get me out of here. And after about 2 weeks, I got a job with state government, different organization, education, government, state government. I never thought I would stay within state government. I had always heard, as everyone has heard, public sector is not really a great place to be, or there's a certain mentality about public sector employees, which is very far from the truth. But there's that mentality. So I went into it thinking, I'm not going to stay here very long. Well, I loved it. I was able to meet so many great people that had so much knowledge and so much to give to the Commonwealth. And I was able to take advantage of a lot of opportunities. So I very quickly moved up in the organization, different paths, and probably after about 8 or 10 years, I became an appointed IT professional, and that's where the obstacles began. So I remember getting appointed to an IT position, and one of the employees that was going to be working for me, of course, I was 31, fairly young for the position, said, well, who is it that you know? I was like, what are you talking about? Who do I know? And he was like, well, you were appointed, so you had to know somebody. I was like, I got it because of my work ethic and skills and knowledge. And those obstacles really held true for me for 5 or 6 years. I didn't just get respect because of the title that I had. I had to go in and earn that respect because it just didn't come to me just because of the title. It was a very odd experience, but I try not to do that to other people. So that's what I've learned, right? Respect people doesn't matter what their title is, doesn't matter what they're doing, just respect people in general for the work they're putting in. And so I grew from that position, was named executive director or CIO of the Transportation Cabinet about 8 years ago, and have served on a lot of different committees and panels and things ever since. But those initial obstacles of people not understanding why I worked for state government, why, who I must have known in the position, or how I got to be where I was something that made me try even harder, I believe, to not have the public sector mentality be something that anyone ever applied to me or anybody that works with me, because it's just not a true representation of the people that work for public sector.
Any other thoughts on this one? Or are we ready to hear about salary?
Of course. Do we have any other thoughts on leadership?
I think we're ready to hear about salary.
Okay. This one, I think it's a difficult one, Greta. So I'm going to give it to you. All right. What advice can you give for effectively negotiating salaries and advocating for oneself in the workplace?
Okay, yeah, it's a good topic.
Yeah, it is big topic.
Because it's hard to ask for more money, right? That's hard for most people. But I feel like what has worked well for me is first knowing what I'm worth. So know what the industry is paying, and don't compare yourself to just the people around you, but also like what is the sector, industry paying in this sector. private, public, just know it. So when you go in, you have that knowledge to help you have that conversation. I feel like having your champions within the organization that see your work and value your work. And then when it comes time for you to possibly get that raise or whatever, or get a new position, they're there, telling people what you've done. I think that's really important. And building those relationships is huge. As you're working through all these years, you don't think about it when you're young, but the more you're there, the longer you're there, these good relationships you build with your coworkers, your peers, those pay off in the long run. So I think that's really helpful. Keep track of the things you're proud of. So for me, that's like, I'm constantly looking at, do I need to update my resume or do I need to update my portfolio? Not so much that I want a new job or I'm looking at, leaving and going somewhere else, but also like having this information I can take into a conversation about my salary. These are the things I've done. And something I wish I had done more of is kind of getting statistics around what that work did. Being more aware of like this created, this down the line, that kind of thing, having more of the numbers behind it. That's something I wish I had done more of throughout my career, just keeping track of that. So yeah, and I feel like those are probably the big ones. The one for me that really helped was being able to say no and walk away. So I had a job that I really wanted. It was one of my first big moves into my career. And I really wanted this job. But when they told me what the salary would be, I can't do that. First of all, I can't do that. And second, I just think I'm worth more than that. So I said no. And for me, it worked out well because a few weeks later, they came back and were able to find that money somewhere. So that was that being early in my career kind of helped me realize, like, yeah, ask for what you think you're worth and be willing to walk away. And then this one is kind of a salary negotiation, but it's also when you go to a new place, like you're doing an interview, look at where the women are in that organization. How many women work there? What level have they made it to? And then in your interview, being willing to ask questions like, what do you do about diversity and bias? Are these things that you have a process for? And get a feel for how they handle that and how they feel about women in the workplace, because it's not always great in the field we're in. So I think it's really good way to have a question in the audience.
No, can I jump in?
I think yeah.
I'm Judy Goldsmith. I'm the Associate Chair of Computer Science. And at least in academia, your initial offer determines what you will get for the rest of your time at that job. So if you don't negotiate at the beginning, it's unlikely that you'll catch up to the guys. And furthermore, people who see your salary as lower than the men internalize something, because this is America, that you are not as valued. And damn it, we are.
Thank you. Yes. Oh. Okay, one more, and then we'll go back to our panelists.
I just do have a question. So like UK's system is set up with SAP and everything is calculated on time and position in the quartiles. So how, in a situation like that where the system is pretty well locked up, how do you negotiate anything?
That's a good question. I think you find your opportunities, like lately we've been having merit raises, which have certainly been, important, and having that champion has really helped me in that area for sure. I do think sometimes because of the system we're in and the way UK works, we do have to think about what are all the other opportunities I'm getting here as well. Like I take advantage of the education thing. I make sure to do all of those things too. So it's definitely a weight of like salary, but also what else comes with that, and I feel like I've gotten a lot of, my career has really developed because of UK, because of the other opportunities as well. So that's kind of how I look at it,
I want to add a few things. First, I want to reiterate Retta's point on you have to be willing to say no. And for her, having an experience where it came back and it worked out okay, some many times it won't. But another door will open up somewhere else and you'll find that opportunity that was worth waiting. So you have to be your own advocate first, because oftentimes that's the one that matters the most and sticks around the whole time. It's you. Secondly, from a salary negotiation perspective, market analysis is important. All of the combined benefits are important. But at the end of the day, and I'm not going to speak from personal experience. I'm on my almost 90 days here at UK. Sometimes you have to look at what else is out there. Because there is an entire nation, global opportunities that exist. And you're going to reach a point in your career where the organization that you're currently at just can't give you the opportunity that you're looking for. And it's not because they don't want to. It might be because there's somebody else that's doing that role, that there's just not the budget to support it, or it's not a priority. But for another organization, that is. And you need to take it upon yourself to grow yourself and your perspectives. And sometimes it means taking a big leap of faith and saying, I'm going to go find this elsewhere because I might find another opportunity to come back, or that might open up other doors for me that I didn't even ever exist in. I talk with many, many students in regard to, healthcare IT. Who would have ever thought that you could have every single aspect of different IT areas within healthcare? Most people contribute healthcare nurses and doctors in emergency rooms. They don't understand that there's a whole ecosystem of business opportunities within a healthcare organization. And so you have to go and teach those things. But sometimes you get so kind of paralyzed in your own space, you don't know what else exists. And so as the world evolves and as organizations evolve, take the opportunity to figure out, where is your pathway and how do you want to find yourself in the next opportunities? And it might take that big leap of faith for you to find it somewhere else, but it will open up more and more opportunities than we could ever imagine.
Any other thoughts? I know this one's going to be a big one.
I'll add this real quickly. I think sometimes we're driven by fear and we don't even realize it. So when you talk about that leap of faith, you sit down and reflect, it really is fear. I think that's keeping. Oftentimes I was in a situation where I had to say no and be willing to walk away. And it turned out to be for my benefit, but I said no, but it was fear at the end of that. And I had to look at myself in the mirror and say, what am I afraid of? And then be willing to take that.
These are all good. I feel like there's much more to unpack that maybe afterward talk about. Okay, Tracy, I'm going to ask you about overcoming adversity and resilience. And I've got 2 questions here, but again, feel free to answer with the kind of wisdom you have for us. Okay. So do you feel that you faced any hurdles in your role as a woman, and how did you overcome them? And then a second question in that is, have you been able to forge strong relationships with a diverse group of technology professionals during your career? And if so, how did you accomplish?
So for the hurdles, absolutely, because I got into IT mostly because I graduated high school, attended college. It wasn't quite for me. My parents weren't, they just didn't have that mindset that college was important. So I was wanting to go out in the world, and I lived in the Chicagoland area, and I wanted to, this was back in the 80s and working girl, and I want to go and make my mark on the world and all this. So I've always been, quite independent. And so I went and got my job and moved to Chicago and got my job in the city. And what I kind of started to find out, was that I just naturally understood computers. Like, they just always made sense to me. So I all of a sudden started becoming the break fix person in the office. And so, after years, I was like, I kind of think I want to do this for a job. And fortunately, I had at that time, I had a lot of what was called desktop publishing skills back then. like it purely was luck, to be honest with you. There was an office in Chicago. They were looking for someone with strong desktop skills that could maybe help with some break fix. It was like, and when I wanted, this was my job. It was like, this was meant for me. And I was 28 at the time, and that actually, that started my career into technology because and actually turned me having jobs into a career. And it was a natural progression. I mean, I like people, so just even that to me kind of always set me apart in support because, I'll still go back then there was the Saturday Night Live skits with the person with the tape on your glasses and, they go move and you're like, and I was never that. I could come and talk to people. And one thing that was really, really important is people people who do a job, they're very good at their job and computers might not be their thing. So instantly when something's not working, like panic instills. So I always felt like it was my job to assure you, you've done nothing wrong. This is just, this is just part of life and we can help get you through and help, keep you from, you losing stuff, but I will say there's also been, one of the things I was always really good at is being able to take analogies and explain to people what your computer was doing. I always used to use Windows and like a computer I would think of it in terms of a house, okay? You have the structure of your house and that would be your computer. And then you have the main theme of your house and we'll say that's Windows. And so being able to break it down and your different software packages, well, that's the living room versus the dining room. And being able to break it down like that was always helpful with people and not being afraid when things would happen. And then they would also be more, willing to speak up so we could handle things when they're small, not when they're big. Well, that also too, just, that kind of started to set me apart from a lot of guys that I worked with. They tended to not really want to interface with people so closely. And that started to make me stand out. And that's one of the things I would say, through, and especially at when my career began, there was 30 support people across the United States with the company that I worked for, and 2 of us were women. So we were just inundated with guys. And one of the things that I always found interesting is guys would puff themselves up and toot their horn in a way I would never think of doing that. And so people tended to think they knew more and me too. I would they know so much. Until then, as my career progressed and I started traveling and I was, doing rollouts and deployments and such, and started working with the guys, and I was like, and it made me learn, I know just as much as they do. Why am I selling myself short or not speaking up to, my capabilities because I know just what they know. That really helped instill a lot of confidence, I would say. But I can also, too, one of the things that's kind of been, I guess, interesting, because going from a Chicago to a Dallas to New York to Kentucky that is, regions make a difference. I will say that as a Chicago girl going to Dallas, my in Chicago, we were rated on interpersonal skills, our evaluations, interpersonal skills. Chicago, I was a star. Oh, she's so kind. She's so she's so easy to work with. And so 6 months into Dallas, I was abrasive and confrontational. It's hard. It ain't hard. I still and now I use it today. I'm like, oh, don't mind me. I'm just abrasive and confrontational. And then the irony was, is I was in Dallas for 4 years, and I was a fish out of water down there, hands down. So Fortunately, I had a lot of people, rooting for me, and I was like, it's time for me to go back above the Mason-Dixon line. And so, things worked out, and a New York opportunity opened up, and so here I was, the girl from Dallas, moving to New York City. And guess what? Oh, well, she's just a Southern belle. I mean, it was so, and of course, I think I was in New York City 2 months, and the company that I worked for did trade shows at the major convention centers, and I got accosted by a homeless person walking into work, and that was, so, and then they thought, oh, the Dallas girl, and it's like, no, city girl here. And so it's just very interesting, like it took, and in fact, if it wasn't for, it took that event for the people in New York to open up to me, because they saw me as someone from the South. So it has been quite interesting, just with the different regions, and I can say, now looking back on it, I'm thankful for both experiences, because now, like, I feel like Kentucky, Lexington is such a blend of both. We're a little city, we're a little bit, little small town, and so it's very easy to fit in here. But I will say, and just you could probably just tell by me, I'm pretty okay being myself, and just being my unique person, because I feel like I would say, after, many decades of doing this, just being yourself and in your position is, that's the most important thing, especially with help. When adversity comes, it doesn't hit so hard, because I'm okay with me.
I love that. And the resilience, the resilience part of this. Do we have any other thoughts on overcoming adversity or resilience?
I'll just jump in right there to say, focus on the things that I can control. So I've had some ups and downs, very similar story. I'm from Chicago, Springfield College, got my degree in computer science in Louisiana, and then straight out of college, came to Kentucky, completely shell-shocked. 26 years ago. And being a young person, I told myself and I told God, I would be here 2 years. And I'm out in here 26, 27, 28 years later. I'm still here. And I've had some ups and downs, and regions do matter. And as far as resilience, I've learned through a coach who was also my husband when I allowed him to speak. But he's a good coach, and focus on the things that I can control. When there are things that I can't control, I can't control it. It's out of my hands. The thing that I can't control, take it by the horns and do my best at it.